Oh, it's worth putting in, isn't it?
Yeah, all right.
Is it too late?
No, I can throw it in. Just face is still covered.
Your TV on.
Oh, really? Grim. Alright, let me throw a description in there.
I thought your microphone was meant to not catch the background noise too much.
It shouldn't.
You can't close the door or something.
I can, hang on. Gotta get this text organised. Maybe I'll just can the text. Doesn't seem to be loading. Actually, I can't add a description once we're live. Never mind.
That's right.
Oh, now I need to find these fucking overlays. Alright, we are finally live, and it was worth the wait for you guys, honestly, because we are back. 20 wins, 2 losses in round 25 to round out the NRL regular season. That is the best round that we've had all season long, and even so, I feel like things still went against us, and we could have easily swept were it not for 2 late tries that screwed 2 of our bets. But 20 wins and 2 losses is still an absolutely fantastic round, plus cashed a $5 same game multi. Jacob, how you feeling?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I hope people can hear me. Have you apologised to people because everyone was sending me hate mail that I need to pay for better internet, and basically you had me on mute. The
True.
settings adjusted themselves, and I was on mute on Wednesday. So let me know if the comments are coming through. I would be cheersing right now, but I've literally drunk all the beer in my house. It has been one hell of a weekend, considering that we were in this punting tournament, which, I mean, let's talk about before we even get to the games. As you said, 22 tips we gave out. We gave out 22 winning tips. The only ones that actually somehow lost was, I swear, 100-1, where the Cowboys score a 60-metre try on the siren. We lose the total unders by half a point.
Yep.
When did Melbourne ever let in a soft 60-metre try to a shitty team like the Cowboys? And then in the Canberra Warriors game, we had the Raiders to score under 12.5 in the first half. They had 6 points in the first 37 minutes.
Yep.
They've got 12 points. They get a penalty with like 20 seconds left. The Warriors have to defend one play. Hodgson sells a dummy inside and goes through untouched
Sick.
on the bell for us to lose that. And you're thinking like it's going to be one of those rounds. And that's the only 2 losses in 22 tips. And of course, the punting tournament that we built up. Yourself, myself, and others that entered the pod, you got a $10,000 balance. Well, we were down $500,000 on the racing, and racing can be quite variable, and you can get some really massive totals. And credit to Punt Hub, they had a couple blokes who killed it. One bloke made nearly $500,000 on the races, so we look like shot ducks. We returned over $1 million from 3 $10,000 entries in the NRL punting tournament. That is a win for the pod, a win for the good guys.
Fucking oath. Absolutely massive win for the pod. And let's get it kicked off with what we just saw, Jacob, with the Panthers beating the Knights 54-10. An absolute shellacking. Obviously, like you mentioned, in the punting tournament, we were all in on Panthers, and it looked kind of grim after the Knights scored the first try. But what a performance by the Panthers in their final home game. Put up 54 points. Cleary puts up, 36 points or something by himself, which is ridiculous in and of itself. And both these teams, look, not playing finals, which is a little bit disappointing. More so for Panthers fans, I think, because you look at this game and it just kind of shows what this Panthers team can do. I still do think that they are one of those teams where, if they did make the finals, they could have caused an upset. They are such a talented team, and when they're on, like today, you saw what they could do, but just too much inconsistency from them throughout the season, and similar with the Knights. I mean, high hopes, and they kind of just finished the season like a shit show over the past month.
Yeah, this season actually is a failure for both of those clubs. But if we looked at the game today, the Knights already kind of relieved that pressure, getting the monkey off their back with the win that they needed to achieve last week at home. And you felt that now they were ready. They'd done enough. They're not playing for any coach. There's a new regime coming in next year. Whereas the Panthers, Ivan Cleary's going to be there next year. A lot of youngsters. It was a home game. They had a lot more reason to get up for it. Now, for a game that we won by 44, which we had to win, I was nervous early because the Panthers are one of those confident sides that if things go against them, they can drop their heads. And they gave up an intercept try, the first try of the game, and they were wasting chances. Dylan Edwards knocks on, hitting the post, and I'm going, don't do this to me, Panthers. But once they started hammering that nail in, the Knights were looking for a reason to give up, as we said. Easy as you like in the end, Cantor to win all our best bets and to bring home the punting tournament.
Yes, indeed. Now let's rewind to what was billed as one of the better games of the weekend, or maybe the best game of the weekend. It was the Rabbits beating the Roosters 16 points to 10. Only had the one play on the game. It was unders in the first half, and it did sail under. Very, very good performance by the Rabbits in that one. They were obviously fighting for a top 4 spot, which they do get. And, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to play the Roosters again next week, so we'll see how that one goes. But, really, really gritty performance by the Rabbits. It looked, bad. They were 10-2 down at halftime, and we were scrambling, to put bets on Manly in the following game for the following day, and all that changed. Rabbits come back and get the win 16-10, but at what cost? I understand that they're in the top 4, but, injuries to Gagai, Liam Knight, Sutton, Reynolds, Burgess suspended. So they're going to be fielding not their full complement when they take on the Rabbits again next week. But, on the flip side, Roosters have got a little bit to worry about as well with Jared Waerea-Hargreaves and Tedavano placed on report as well. So just a brutal game and a finals footy level game that was.
And before I talk about that game, how good have the matchups shaken out that we get that one again? And It was a hell of a game, and there's so much bad blood, and I can't wait for that rematch. We get the Raiders-Storm rematch, and that was one of the matches of the season as well.
100%.
So we get that in the top 4. Broncos-Eels was a cracker that went to Golden Point only 3 weeks ago, and we get that as an elimination final. And the Sharks obviously got up today, and we'll get to that. I mean, they know they can upset Manly, and that's
100%.
a side. Sharks is a side with top 4 talent. Manly's a side that's been deserving of top 4 the whole year. Neither of them got there, and now it's elimination. So she's on next week. But to this game, what a game of 2 halves. Because if you were on the Roosters, they could have been up 3 or 4 tries in the first half. They were blitzing the Rabbitohs. And as you said, we were looking. That was going to bring Manly back into contention for the 4 because it looked like the Roosters were going to put a score on. But the Roosters were wasteful with chances. Latrell dropped a couple over the line first half. Bennett got his troops in at the half, I think 10-2 down. Whatever he said to them, geez, it worked. They come out second half, absolutely resolute. They scored 2 long-range tries, bang, bang. It's very similar to the Broncos game where they're on the ropes and then 2 tries out of nothing. But they've got the skill players to do that. I got to shout out Damien Cook. I feel like we've always said Burgess is the best player on that team. I feel like Cook is the best player on the Rabbitohs right now. But as you say, they lost a lot of key troops. And when they play again next week, I'm not expecting a repeat. In fact, let's share an early best bet that we've already given out today. The only best bet we've released so far. We are going to play the Roosters minus 5.5. That was $1.90 on Unibet. I think they've already dropped the price 6 cents. But I think you can still get Roosters minus 4.5, $1.87. Bet365. Everywhere else had that line at 6 or higher. Sam Burgess, the early guilty play, he's already out. You mentioned a few other guys under injury clouds. Even if Waerea-Hargreaves gets suspended or wiped out, they've got guys coming back. The Roosters have not gotten out of third gear the last month. The Rabbitohs have been playing on tilt. So as a teaser, I think the Roosters will get their first win over the Rabbits this year because, of course, Rabbitohs win on Thursday meant they swept the Roosters this season.
Plus, nothing better than recent revenge, and you can't get any more recent than the week before. Let's move on to the Eels beating Manly 32-16. We had 3 bets on the game and won all 3. And after the Rabbits beat the Roosters in that one, Manly had nothing to play for here. And we just thought that, look, at Bankwest Stadium, final home game for the Eels, we understand that they had nothing to play for either. But sometimes it's easier when 2 teams, have nothing to play for. The home team has a bit more incentive with the crowd getting behind them and all that sort of stuff. So really good performance by the Eels, and they could cause some damage in the finals. They have been playing really well in the stretch home. Sevo, have to mention, obviously a hat-trick for him, which is very, very good. And Manly, just a lot of worries for Manly's finals hopes here. They had Tommy Turbo out for the last few weeks, but now they're missing Tapau, and it's just going to be very, very tough missing two of your better players for Manly to do some damage in the finals. What do you think, Jacob?
Oh, that Tapau loss was massive. I said to you, once Manly couldn't get any higher than where they were, like Des had to tap Jake Trbojevic and Tapau on the shoulder and Cherry and say, like, there's nothing to win this week.
Yep.
And where are the Eels? They'd lost 2 in a row. Like, they lost to a Dogs team that was just too good for them on the night in a tough match. And they obviously lost the Golden Point game to Brisbane, which they could have won. I think they scored more tries.
Yep.
But they don't want to go to the finals on 3 straight losses. And they were at home. And you felt more confident that they were after a good performance. Because there is something to be said for building form towards the finals. Whereas Manly were just a bit more battered and bruised. And in a way, they just wanted to get through the game. And yeah, they're gonna have a tough one next week. Whereas the Eels, I think, will take a lot of confidence out of that one. They do play very well at home. What have they lost at home? Like probably twice this year.
I think once, unless
I think they lost to the Panthers, and I think they lost that Dogs game.
I think it's 7-2 or
right?
something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So they're very hard to beat at Wankbest Stadium. So a great performance, and we swept all our best bets on that one too.
Indeed we did, and the next one up was the Storm beating the Cowboys 24 points to 6. We had 2 best bets on the game, went 1-1.
I wish it was 24-6.
Oh, 24-16, sorry. And like Jacob mentioned, another one of those bad beats with the last 30-second try to push the game total over. Look, yeah, a historic season by the Storm. I think you might have mentioned it last week, Jacob, but what did all their losses amount to? Something like 6 points. 8 points, there you go. Absolutely ridiculous. Storm v Raiders shapes up to be a very, very intriguing game next week. As Jacob said, with the Raiders being the only team, in history to come back from 18 points down to beat the Storm. Look, disappointing season from the Cowboys, and they'll look to build on what little they did this year, but just a lot of unlucky losses and just not enough firepower there in that Cowboys outfit. But Storm looking towards the finals, and look, I'm not going to say that they look like the team to beat, despite having a historic season. I still do think that the Roosters, have a better roster than them, and I still would back them if they do end up playing in the finals, which is looking more and more likely by the day.
Yeah, and they get to play at home. And this next week, these top 4 matches are so big. You take such a big step towards winning the comp because you achieve a bye, essentially, a 14-day turnaround and a home prelim to get you to the grand final. So that makes this so exciting. And the Storm have had one eye on that game for a little while. They rested Munster in the end. They rest 1 or 2 others. I mean, they wanted to have a look at Croft, whether he deserves to play 7. There's pros and cons. Pappenhausen's the most deadly ball runner on the team, but doesn't know how to pass at fullback.
No, he doesn't, does he?
And then Jerome Hughes hasn't quite nailed down a jersey. I'm sure he'll find his way into the back line. So they're still trying to find the combination that can beat the Raiders and then ultimately probably that one that gives them a chance to beat the Roosters. The Cowboys, to their credit, after a really big win to send off 1,300 smiles, they did bring it down to Melbourne. They didn't just mail this one in. They fought tough all the way to the end. Unfortunately for us, as you say, we had under 39.5 was the best bet after we won the first half unders, and the Storm had it and kicked it to the sideline. It dead set bounced an inch from the sideline, stayed in. Well, you shouldn't be worried about that. The Cowboys had the ball on their own 20. The Storm aren't going to give up a meaningless try. Somehow the Cowboys make a break, a kick ahead try under the sticks on the siren to lose by a half. I already said it before, but it's still haunting me. That was our only loss on the Friday night.
And look, it's funny. That has been our story of the season, more so than I think any other season that we've had. We've done this for 5 years now, and this season especially, it just seems week after week, game after game, we have had bad beats more so than lucky wins. So it is a testament that we are still at 57% at the end of the regular season. We are so close
actually to 58%. I'd crunch the numbers. We can get there in the finals.
It's been a fucked season in terms of luck, and we're still nearly at 58%. Next game, everyone laughed at us. Warriors beating the Raiders 24 points to 20. We had 4 best bets on the game, and like Jacob mentioned, unlucky to sweep 3-1 on the best bets. Look, I know we've copped shit all year betting on the Warriors, but this was the time to take them. Raiders already said they were resting a bunch of guys and rested one more on game day, I believe. And people were just saying, look, the Raiders are not going to lose to the Warriors. But sometimes in this betting game, you have to delve a little deeper, and the Raiders had zero to play for. Some people were arguing, would they prefer to play the Storm or would they prefer to play the Roosters? And for me, it's negligible. And even if they did have a preference, they already made their intentions clear by resting their stars, a few days ago. So the Raiders were never coming into this one to fight and grind and get out a win that they absolutely had to have. Whereas the Warriors are, they're heading off to Bali next week or doing whatever they're going to do. They can put in 100%, put their body on the line. And they did. I thought RTS had a great game. And Warriors scored the last 2 tries late to pull out a victory. Good on them. And happy for the Warriors fans because they have had not only a tumultuous year, but just a tumultuous long life as a Warriors fan. So congratulations to the Warriors, but unfortunately the Raiders are the only one that move on to the top 4. And like you said, Jacob, that should be another cracker of a finals game next week.
But let's pull one out for RTS, because if I put you on the spot, you can't tell me a better player who won't be playing in the finals. I think the best player this year who's not on a finals team, he's unbelievable. The Warriors, I think they were up 12-6 in this game and they let in a try late before halftime to get it back to 12-all. And you're going, okay, they've shown up for this one. Well, you mentioned the revenge factor. They got very much embarrassed. They were down 30-0 at halftime a month ago at home. They wanted to come in and win this game, and they actually had Fuzzy Tua scratched before kickoff, which isn't great for us. Bloke led the comp in tries 1 or 2 seasons ago. So again, you're a little bit worried. But as soon as that news
came out, Jacob, you gave out a cracker of an anytime try scorer tip that came in the first half.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a funny story because I read that Fusitua was out and Pompey was going to play on the wing to replace him. And I said you can get $4 on Pompey anytime try scorer on Sportsbet. And then when they actually went out there, they had Milne on the wing and Pompey playing in the centres. And I'm like, oh, well, that's fucked. But he did score a try. So cash a $4 ticket. Warriors were over $4 to win the game straight up. And we tipped that as well. And even though they let in that back-breaking try right on halftime, I was a bit worried. And then they conceded the first one after halftime. They were down 20-12. They didn't give up. And the key try was one of the tries of the season, like a 17 pass, right to left try. And I was watching the game with my old man. And you know that moment where you're watching a game and you call something like perfectly just before it happens and you look like a guru?
It's never
and this
happened
one,
to me.
They were throwing it around. Once they went right to left, I just said, just get the ball back to RTS, they'll score. Get it to RTS, they'll score. And they kept it alive. Couple passes. As soon as they gave it to RTS, I knew he'll either beat 3 people or he'll draw 3 and they'll score. And as soon as he got it with a little bit of space, he goes straight in. That's the key try that gets him back in it. And Blake Green gets the winning try. Wonderful win for the Warriors. It caps
just
off.
Before that, they had another one disallowed, I think. So, even then they could have hung their heads, but they didn't.
So we would have won our plays regardless of the win, but we even had them straight up in one of our multis and straight up in that punting comp. So that was a very nice and deserved victory.
Indeed we did, and another team that we had to win, not only in the punting comp, but we had bets on it as well, was the Bulldogs beating the Broncos 30 points to 14. Just the 3 bets on this one, but go 3-0. It's another one of those games where, you had the home dog in the Bulldogs that have been playing very, very solid football, top 8 football in the last, 2.5 months, where else, you probably can't have said the same for this Broncos side. And look, although the Broncos were sitting in 7th spot, they didn't really have anything to play for. I know a lot of people were throwing Hail Mary tickets on the Sharks-Tigers game to end in a draw to knock the Broncos out. But look, the Broncos know that they're not stupid. They wanted to get through this one unscathed and be healthy for next week, or else the Bulldogs can absolutely rest for until next season pretty much. So they were going to put all that they had into this one, and they did. I thought that the score was an accurate reflection of the game. I thought that the Bulldogs were all over them. They were the better team for the majority of the game. And I think that's been the case over the last 2 months. So I found it fascinating that they were such big underdogs at home when they've been playing as good, if not better, than Brisbane over the last month or 2.
Pull back the curtain. You've got an economics major degree, but you spent several years as a real estate agent. And what's the number one rule in real estate, they say?
Motivation, motivation, motivation. Is that what you're going to say?
Thanks for stuffing that one up for me. I thought the rule was location, location, location. Then I come in with the buzz.
I thought it might have been A, B, C, and this, there's all sorts of different catchphrases.
And this is
sorry about
this
that.
was a classic one here where the Broncos, they could have got knocked out of the finals if they lost, and then it was a draw. That had to be a 90-minute draw. Realistically, that's like a 1% chance. It happens like once a season. It happened to Brisbane, I know, a few weeks ago, but roughly Like, the odds of that happening is very low. So, essentially, Brisbane had 1 foot in the finals, whereas the Dogs have been arguably the better formed team the last couple of months of the season. And they were at home. So, we could not understand why the Bulldogs were underdogs in this. Brisbane weren't going to rush players back like Offengowie. TPJ is still out. Everyone's got a hard-on for Fafita and Payne Haas, but they need a bit more than that. Halves are very suspect. So, look, I'm not going to draw a line through Brisbane because I expected them to be flat yesterday, and they were. Can they compete with the Eels? Absolutely they can. It's another game I'm looking forward to. But just from a punting perspective yesterday, we got all these underdog markets on Bulldogs and won them pretty easily too.
Indeed. Before we move on to the next game, Jacob, something has happened with your microphone. It's maybe getting worse by the second. You might need to move it somehow, or move the
I got a plan
or something. Oh.
Hopefully this will be. It might not be as sharp. Does that work?
That is way better. That's way better.
You made me buy this, but anyway, we won enough money.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it is strange. I don't know. No, like we said, we're not that good with
Keep
technology.
it rolling.
Dragons beating the Titans 24 points to 16. Didn't have a best bet on this game. I mean, we could make cases for both teams. I kind of said, look, do we want to take the Titans in their final home game of the season? They'll probably show up. You said, look, is that dumb because the Dragons are the much superior team, and if they actually try, they will beat the Titans. And both of those things probably happened. The Titans did show up. They were close there for a little bit. And in the end, talent won out. Disappointing, really, really disappointing seasons for both teams. I think both these teams would have had aspirations to make finals footy at the start of the season. Dragons are just glad this season is over, and especially the Titans are absolutely glad that this season is over. So don't want to spend too much time talking about these teams. We're not going to see them until next year. So good riddance to you both.
Yeah, we can do a post-mortem later. The Titans had the season from hell, but they got themselves to blame for the efforts they dished up in a lot of rounds this year. They did try in this one. The final score, what they end up losing by, I think 8 points.
Yes, correct.
8-14. But they actually had a great chance. I think when the game was tied, they dropped the ball over the line with like 15 to go, and then the Dragons scored a couple of sets later. So look, they tried their best, as we said. Like, the Dragons wanted to go off on a minor high and send Lattimore out and send Widdop back to the UK, with a little win at the Gold Coast. And they did play harder. And as you say, they've got those class players of Benny Hunt. I think he got a double. Some people might not like hearing him being called class, but he's an origin level player on a field where the Titans are trying to blood some youngsters. So that did end up getting him over the line. And yeah, we couldn't have been sure that the Dragons would care enough to win that. But if we had known, we would have been on the Dragons too.
Yeah, 100%. And then the last game that we'll go through is the Sharks beating the Tigers for that 7th spot, isn't it? 25-8. We had 6 best bets on the game. Absolutely love Sharkies and loved unders in this one. And we do go 6-0, which is a really good result. Finally being on the right side of a side and a total and being able to sweep the game. Look, concerns in this game obviously were, both teams were going to be absolutely desperate and playing at Leichhardt. Those fans were going to show up and the crowd was going to be enormous. But the Sharks took they took the crowd out of it pretty early on. And in the end, talent won out. And I do think that the Sharks are the more talented roster. 3 tries in the space of 6 minutes just put this game completely to bed. And look, we've said this before, kind of about teams like, let's say, for example, the Bulldogs or even the Tigers. It's like, yes, they can beat these elite teams, but it has to be, in a low-scoring grind. And if any of these elite teams, and I am putting the Sharks in there despite them finishing, towards the bottom end of the 8, because when they play well, they can blow anyone off the park. And if the Sharks are on, they're going to beat this Tigers team. Look, unfortunate for the Tigers. Look, Corey Thompson gets scratched just before game time. I think he must have tweaked something in the warm-up. And honestly, he has been one of their best down the stretch. So that really was not a good start for them. And look, I'm glad to see the Sharks in the finals, to be honest, because I think that their ceiling is much higher than the Tigers. And I think, that I know it's almost impossible to win the comp from outside the top 8. But if they can get guys like Moylan back and healthy, this team honestly can beat those upper echelon teams.
Yeah, they're a little bit different because they've only gotten Wade Graham back into the side late in the year, and he's been, probably the form back rower in the comp. And of course, they can go to another level. X factor is going to be whether Moylan's hammy is good to go, and they do catch a massive break that we already alluded to, and they're going to play a Manly side without Tom Trbojevic and Marty Tapau.
Yep.
So Absolutely, they can. This game was like the mirror image of last week, where the Sharks were at home in Gallen's home farewell against the Raiders, and the Sharks just clearly came out the hungrier side. The crowd was amped, the crowd was electric and full capacity, and they were getting the calls, they were getting the penalties, they were getting the 50-50 knock-on calls, and the Sharks used that last week to build a 12-0 lead with 3 tries, and the goal kicking cost them. And in the end, the Raiders came back when the Sharks kind of tired themselves out, and the Raiders ended up getting them. This week, it was the Tigers with all the emotion, because you mentioned Thompson scratch, but that made Farah like an 11th hour addition to the team.
Yes.
The crowd, Leichhardt, went mental when he went out there. Still got a half-broken leg.
Broken bones.
And so that was inspirational, and they were getting the calls in the game, and they were getting the penalties, but the Sharks withstood that, and it was 4-all until a bizarre penalty in possession to the Tigers granted the Sharkies a 6-4 lead. The Sharks had to know we withstood a barrage in that first half, and we come out 6-4. And as you say, the class and just the fact that the Tigers almost got too high could not sustain that, and the Sharkies, rolled over them. And as you say, we're dead right. We were on unders and Sharks, but you're always in danger that if the Sharks had actually rolled through a couple more tries, it could have gone over. So that's what you talk about. Even when you get a game right, you still need it's nice to actually win all the best bets, which we did. And to cap, as I say, we've had 1 or 2 in history, 90% plus rounds. But when you get 90% and the 2 losses should have won as well, I think that could be the greatest round we've ever had.
And obviously, it's tougher to go, 90% on 22 tips than it is to go 90% on 10 tips, or 80% on 5 tips.
Well, yeah, because I think we have like a 10-0 round in the past and stuff, when we used to give a few less plays, and now we give more plays for the boys.
Yeah, definitely. So an outstanding round to finish off the NRL regular season, that's for sure. I haven't actually looked at a lot of the odds for next week, Jacob, but I would assume that Sharks-Manly game will be the one game where the home team is actually not favoured. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Yeah, it's been such a hectic weekend. I think we've already dropped the ball, but whether enough people would have got on. But someone commented in our forum that you could have got the Sharks at plus money, I think $2 or above to win that game. I don't think that's still available now, and I think they will be a favourite going to that game. But as you say, we're not deep diving into the finals yet. We'll wait and see about team lists and see who's actually going to be healthy to play next weekend. And she's on again, and we'll be previewing it all on Wednesday night.
Yeah, definitely. And some people have been asking in the group as well. Obviously, look, it's been a massive NRL round. We will be tipping throughout the NRL finals, quite obviously. But people have been asking about NFL. Look, we did a little prop pod for the NFL, and we will be getting into NFL and releasing bets and doing podcasts, etc. We'll just have to be able to figure out, what time we're going to get into that, because it is going to be hectic with NRL finals coming up. But if you're in the group,
it is crazy. Sorry. Like, as a sports fan, like, you had the AFL finals with this weekend. Look, not everyone follows every sport, but obviously blokes are into the cricket. You got your tennis. I mean, the European football is happening. Even the rugby. There's a Rugby World Cup coming up. The NFL, started on Thursday. There's a full slate of games tomorrow morning. We're going to be up from 3 a.m. watching that and getting into that. Obviously, the Spring Racing Carnival, dead set. It's been insane. And we had this punting tournament. So we will put out as much content as we can. We want to do it justice, though. When we put out a best bet, we're putting our name to it. We're giving you something we believe wins at 60%. So we will start giving out NFL. It's literally a matter of how much time. Oh, yeah, and it's harder as well. So we will when we can do it justice, we will share tips, and we'll do probably a couple more season previews. I know that the season will be 1 week old, but you can still play futures, and it's going to be a crazy season. So if people are interested in that, just stay tuned on the Tripod page.
It is going to be an awesome season. And look, there actually isn't enough hours in the day, not only to do capping, but even to watch sport. I mean, like you said, NFL starts at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. People have been up for like 6-7 hours watching NRL, AFL today. And Red Zone starts at, NFL starts at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. You've got the US Open men's final at 6 o'clock. You literally can't watch everything.
So Aussies are trying to win another test in the Ashes overnight too.
You literally cannot watch everything. So choose your hours wisely that you are watching sport. Make sure to record, make sure to fast forward through, and make sure to make use of that midday nap, because it comes in handy when you're watching so much sport during the day. But look, guys, thank you for all your support, and thank you for tuning in tonight. An absolutely awesome way to finish the NRL regular season, but we don't stop there. We will be tipping throughout finals as well. So, look, if you guys made some money this weekend and throughout the season, what we would love you to do is drop our podcast review on the iTunes store, on Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast, and drop the Tripod app a 5-star review as well. It helps us boost up there in the rankings, and the more people that see it, the more people that download it, the more people that can win some money with us. So, look, appreciate your support through the years, guys, and we will catch you again on Wednesday, 6 p.m. to...
And I've got to thank the people that jumped into the tournament with us as too. We're victorious.
100%.
So we're going to have $500 cash to share. And even though you and I were actually first and second, we won't claim any of that $500 cash that we won. We'll be sharing that amongst 5 other members who joined us in battle. And another $500 cash, we'll be making a donation. And we'll be choosing some worthy charities based on what the lads who, in our group want to give towards it. We'll put up a poll for that. So that's, something good we can give back as well, for all the hard work, and it's all good fun and good banter, and we appreciate Punt Hub, and they gave us a red hot shake, especially in the racing, taught us a lesson, but we got them back in footy, which is what matters most to us. So it was great fun for the weekend, but stay tuned through the week to share the spoils.
Yeah, absolutely. $500 to the members of the pod, $500 to a charity that we decide on. Should be a really good week and weekend. Guys, thanks for tuning in once again. We'll see you on Wednesday night.